the one thing I gotta say is I love the way they did the eyes, especially in the series. You couldn't really see All Might's eyes, especially when he was heroing. I kind of hope someone releases a better one. Not saying there's any problems with it, but it definitely shows his age. Hey guys, welcome back to the YKB, Why Keep the Box Collecting, where we immediately destroy the value of our figure and free them from their plastic and cardboard prison. It's McFarlane's My Hero Academia All Might. Now, I know what most of y'all are thinking, this figure's super old. Why would you pick it up? Well, it's because, one, and two, I just picked up these guys not that long ago, and I realized I wanted a good All Might to go with them, and it looked like the McFarlane was the best. So, let's take them to the table and see if that holds to be true. Alright, so we have All Might over here, and like I told you, he kind of looked like the online best figure, because I wanted All Might to have size, and the only other All Might I saw was I can't remember where the All Might was from, but it was that cheaper anime line, the like Total Anime, I believe. No, it's not Total Anime. It is the I can't remember. I'll have the name up on the screen. But it was that All Might, and he didn't look big enough for my liking. So we can always go to the Todd Father to get you some oversized figures. So we have All Might here, standard box as usual, especially for his anime line. And if it was brand new, I would say it would be great, but obviously this has been put through the ringer, as you can tell. But here at the YKB, we don't care about boxes, so let's get All Might open. Let's see. I picked this up for a good reason. I absolutely love this, that the stand is inside the thing. I don't like that it uses tape, but it's there with the actual logo on it. There you go. You got All Might. Let's get him a little closer. And for a design wise, he looks absolutely great. Obviously, he's banged up a little bit. I'm not sure if this figure is as new as I think it is anymore, but definitely the box was thrown around a lot. So I think for the entire design and look, it works. You know, I did only spend like I believe $15 in total plus shipping, so wasn't entirely an expensive figure to get. Now let's look at the reasons I picked him up. You can see over there is Bakugo coming around the bend, followed by Shoto. And just looking at them all three together, this is doing exactly what I wanted when I picked up this All Might. He's definitely way bigger than these figures, which is kind of the look I wanted. I know a lot of the McFarlane stuff was, you know, a lot bigger than you kind of wanted, but for these larger figures, he fits in with no problem. And I forgot to add in Deku right there. Now, if you want to see the reviews for the Shoto and Bakugo, I have it in the description below. But the heights work. Now, looking at All Might himself, the obviously mine's a much older figure and banged up, so I'm not gonna blame that on Todd. Just the luck of the draw. And it was so cheap that having paint defects and everything is kind of included. I knew what I was buying, but for the most part, I think the paint is pretty clean. There's some stuff on this, but I can't really complain about the wear because, I clearly bought it for dirt cheap so that I can just have the representation on my shelf. I saw a lot of the defects on the listing, so it's not like you can complain about that. But the figure himself is well proportioned for McFarlane. Oddly surprised. He even got the paint on the ball joint thing system he uses, which is absolutely good. There's only like two figures I'm thinking about like repurchasing um from this McFarlane My Hero Academia thing. The All for One in the suit and All for One with without the gigantic arm in the suit and the Endeavor. Just because those are bigger guys that can probably mix in with these characters. Because it looks like this total anime line is gonna definitely take off. The way the figures feel in hand and everything, they're absolutely amazing. So, I don't know when they're gonna get around to All Might and Endeavor and all of them, but when Todd does a good figure, I have no problem picking him up and giving him praise. So, let's look at his articulation. And before we get into articulation, let's do this real fast. His accessories are the stand, which is what you kind of need when McFarlane, because, he loves to make figures that can't stand, and All Might with open hands, which is fine. He has his fists on him, he has open hands. I don't know what else you need. Maybe a pointing finger, but it's All Might. All he does is scream, "I am here," and punches. So let's get back to the figure. Articulation. He can do a T-pose. That can swivel all the way around. But the paint this does definitely gets moved around, so I wouldn't suggest moving that too much. But it gives you the entire range, and it feels like it's a ratchet in there, which is, he's definitely fixed that. Todd's definitely fixed that in his newer figures. 90-degree, single jointed, which I thought that was double jointed. My fault. Full joint for the hands. So, that's what it is. Bicep swivel. It goes all the way around. Core that crunches in that forward like that much. Back that much. Crunches in that much. Crunches back that much. So, like most of Todd's figure, he is definitely not doing crunches. His head's on a ball joint, so it moves around like that. Double jointed, can't kick his butt. Can't do a full split. No thigh swivel, just moves that little bit. Ball joint for the foot. Toe hinge, like that. And he can kick that high. Pretty good. He can kick higher than he can do a split. Strange. The one thing I gotta say is I love the way they did the eyes, especially in the series. You couldn't really see All Might's eyes, especially when he was heroing. So I love the way it looks. Todd just did some shadows on the eyes and covered up the face. I think it actually looks pretty good. It looks like All Might suffering through all his troubles, still trying to keep that smile on the face, which I think this figure absolutely pulls off. I will be touching this up with some paint though and clearing up a lot of this stuff just because, it looks pretty easy to take care of. I would be complaining more, but, this is a cheap figure, so it's a cheap figure that's from years ago, so you got to deal with the flaws. Let's see how tall he is. There you go. Got All Might standing up strong. He is 7 inches to the top of the head. About, it's not 8.5. That's about 8 3/4 inches to the top of his hair. Meaning he's a big figure. And let's stick in the only reason I picked this guy up. I absolutely love the scale of this. It looks absolutely amazing. Deku's always been a little bit too tall. Let's take him out. At least the total anime Deku from Jazzware is a little bit too tall in my book. But this absolutely looks amazing. All Might probably could be a little bit bigger. Just a tad bit. But, you know, I'm guessing this is the best. If you want some articulation, because there's that AnimeHeroes line. That's what it is. That has All Might as well, and he really just looks like a statue that can move his arms and legs. There's not really much. It also looks a little. It's a cheaper brand, so you know, it is what it is. All right, since we're talking about scale, let's do some more. First up is NECA Turtle, followed by a McFarlane Spawn. Looks pretty good, matches up pretty well. Star Wars Black Series, Marvel's Legends, G.I. Joe Classified Series, Loyal Subjects, and to finish it off, SHfigurearts. And just because I know people are going to say something, I got a little surprise. And it is SHfigurearts Midoriya. It is Vigilante costume that's not super ripped up. You know, he's a little bit shorter than the Jazzwares Midoriya, but you know, they fit. So if you want to scale McFarlane and SHfigurearts, because I don't know if SHfigurearts is gonna do All Might. I'd definitely pick one up if they did. But you know, there you go. There they are. Matches pretty well, height wise and everything. So what more can I say? I think this is the absolute best All Might you can get right now, and I kind of hope someone releases a better one. Not saying there's any problems with it, but it definitely shows his age. I absolutely love the size comparison because I just like when All Might is, you know, a giant in comparison to these other figures. And these are kid-sized figures, so for the most part, they are pretty in scale with everything else, just being a little bit shorter than standard height figure. So, I'm absolutely waiting for Total Anime to give me an All Might. This line has been doing absolutely great, and I'm getting distracted. The McFarlane line was pretty good. I think the problem with My Hero Academia was just like all the other lines, the 7 inches is just too big. So, kind of couldn't fit with SHfigurearts or anything else, and you'd have to get the big figures like All Might or Endeavor, and you know, everything else just didn't match up with everything else. So, I had this entire line, I've sold it off, and then I had to rebuy it again, at least the figures I like. So, I don't know. I guess I'm just complaining. For more reviews like this, come to the YKB. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm out. It's All Might's an absolutely great figure, and more people should have him.